In 9 cases out of 10, hypertension is considered essential, and no one knows what causes it, despite a bunch of research. I will talk about blood pressure and natural remedies that have much fewer side effects than medicines. Of course, consult your doctor before using them. The total length of all blood vessels in your body is about 100,000 kilometers. This is a lot of vessels, and they go to a variety of places inside the body to many organs. In fact, the circulatory system supplies blood to all organs. And increased pressure creates a lot of problems not only for blood vessels and heart. Because of it, the brain, eyes, kidneys can suffer. It increases the risk of heart attacks and is definitely the risk of stroke is 3 times. High blood pressure is a common problem. Half of people over the age of 60 suffer from hypertension. I believe that this is too much. But in fact, hypertension may indicate that this is how the body compensates for various disorders. Let's say you have hypoxia, for example, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, and you don't have enough oxygen. The body's system sees this and automatically raises blood pressure, sending more blood to that area to deliver more oxygen. If a person takes medication to lower blood pressure, what happens to the lungs? It's already there. There is not enough oxygen, and now there will be even less of it. This is one of the reasons why people feel unwell. Taking blood pressure medications. They act on the brain, creating additional problems. Methinks it is very important to understand why your blood pressure became elevated in the first place. Not enough attention is paid to this. Usually, everything looks like this. You have hypertension, we do not know the cause. Take this medicine, drink more water, exercise, and so on. I believe that there are several common reasons. High blood pressure, and these are a lack of potassium, a lack of magnesium, and a lack of vitamin D. If I had hypertension, these 3 things are the first thing I would pay attention to. But instead, doctors say, you need to eat less sodium. You're not told to get more potassium, you're told to lower your sodium levels. And if this does not work, you are prescribed a diuretic. Most often, hydrochlorothiazide is prescribed. It removes fluid from the body, and with it sodium. But it also imperceptibly removes potassium in the body. Potassium deficiency is formed, and potassium deficiency itself can increase blood pressure. You already have little potassium, and now it is almost non-existent at all. And now you need even more medicines. Yes, of course, you can make an appointment. Potassium, but, unfortunately, potassium is available in tablets of 99 milligrams or less, and the need for potassium is very high, for 0.700 milligrams. And here you have tablets of 99 milligrams. How many of these tablets, rounded up to 100 milligrams, do you need to get the right dose? Do the math yourself, it's a lot. But this diuretic also removes magnesium, and this is another common cause of high blood pressure in people. A side effect of this diuretic is an increase in homocysteine levels. If it does not work, calcium channel blockers may be prescribed. This is also a medicine for blood pressure, but they have a different mechanism of action. The problem is that they give minor complications. If you drink them for longer than 5 years, it can cause a decrease in the brain. In addition, they can increase the risk of the disease. Some types of cancer. In one study, this type of medication was compared with another that also lowers blood pressure. And it turned out that it reduces blood pressure by 1 dj, only by 1/10 of 1 point. In my opinion, this is not impressive. Yet, one type of medication is ACE inhibitors. But the trouble is that they increase the risk of allergies even to medications, and quite a lot. Another side effect is chronic cough. I don't know if you've seen the last News about aspirin. Finally, we found out that it is not too useful, and the result is not so good. Remarkable. This is the conclusion of the group on the study of aspirin intake in myocardial infarction. The conclusion is this: 1. An aspirin tablet a day is not beneficial. In another study, the benefit of taking 1 aspirin tablet per day. Confirmed. But at the same time, they tested not even aspirin, but bufferin. This is a different type of medicine, and it contains magnesium oxide is included, and magnesium helps to lower blood pressure. In addition, beta-carotene was added there. So it's not clear what and how it worked. There is one substance that you need to be aware of, and that is nitric oxide. Nitric oxide has greater support for the inner layer of blood vessels. As a vasodilator, it helps to reduce blood pressure. He even uses it to treat erectile dysfunction. After all, this is a problem with blood vessels. We talk about blood vessels all the time, but they can suffer many organs. For example, there is vascular dementia due to poor blood supply to the brain. We have an enzyme that helps synthesize nitric oxide, and this enzyme can be suppressed or turned off to some extent due to a certain genetic variations. If this is your case, you may not produce enough nitric oxide and develop hypertension. You can take a test for the presence of this problem. There are a couple of methods. You can do a DNA test or even take a test for the so-called ADM. This stands for asymmetric methylarginine. The result of this test will immediately show if you have enough nitric oxide. The solution I recommend has minimal or no side effects. Just buy yourself arginine. Arginine will help produce more nitric oxide. You can take it on a regular basis to cope with high blood pressure. Another great natural the remedy for pressure is garlic. It acts as a natural ACE inhibitor and also boosts nitric oxide production. Another useful product for high blood pressure is celery. It contains a couple of powerful phytonutrients, which help to reduce blood pressure and also reduce the level of adrenaline. So it helps with both sleep and pressure. I recommend about 4 stalks of celery a day during the last meal. You will see that this will benefit you. And to support the endothelial layer of blood vessels, one of the best remedies is tocotrienols, a type of vitamin E. If you suspect that the inner surface of your blood vessels is damaged, take only trienols. They help with angina, heart problems, but they work especially well as a powerful antioxidant on the inner surface of blood vessels. Let's summarize. Potassium and magnesium. Where to get them? From greens. Eat plenty of greens regularly. Another source is electrolyte powder. Vitamin D3 can be obtained from the sun, but not in winter. So start taking D3. This alone can normalize blood pressure, but you need to take at least 20,000 daily. Add garlic, celery to your diet, and don't forget about arginine. Buy it in powder and drink half or even a whole scoop daily to create more nitric oxide. And finally, tocotrienols, which can support the inner walls of blood vessels. But understand that you also need to address the underlying cause of nutrition. I want to share very interesting information about a home remedy to reduce the risk of hypertension. Hypertension is extremely interesting because 95% of its cases are called essential hypertension or primary hypertension or idiopathic hypertension. All this means the same thing. The reason is unknown, no one knows it. It's so strange. Cause of 95% of cases of hypertension. Unknown. After so many years, we do not know the reason. But of course, we know how to treat it. We know that it is necessary to treat. Pills. Today, I'm going to tell you about what I think is the real cause of hypertension. And you are? You will be able to cope with hypertension very easily in a natural way. I will show you an amazing technique that allows you to reduce high blood pressure in a few minutes. And this is a very, very cheap method. It won't cost you anything. Wait, and you will find out that this method is extremely simple. But first, I have to tell you what causes the blood pressure decreases. There are receptors in our vessels called baroreceptors. They are connected to the nervous system and through it to the brain stem. Baroreceptors inside the arteries and veins receive information and transmit it to the nervous system. All this is controlled by the so-called autonomic nervous system, and it has sympathetic and parasympathetic parts. Blood pressure consists of systolic or maximum pressure in the contraction phase of the heart and diastolic or minimum pressure in the relaxation phase of the heart. Normal systolic pressure is 120, diastolic is 80. This is in a healthy person at rest. This is an average. It changes under the influence of many factors. When it becomes 140 by 90 or more, this is already hypertension. Then, are baroreceptor failures caused? Well, the first thing that can cause a failure is a problem with the electrolytes, which these receptors are controlled, and these are mainly sodium and potassium. And here's what's interesting here. Most people with hypertension is said to reduce the amount of sodium. But when sodium deficiency occurs, the function of baroreceptors begins to be disrupted. So yes, you will have less fluid retention, perhaps lower blood pressure, but there will be problems with the baroreceptors. And the sympathetic system is activated. And what does the activation of the sympathetic nervous system lead to? To an increase in blood pressure. So a low-salt diet can aggravate hypertension. But if you take the mineral that balances sodium, and this potassium, if you increase the level of potassium, then blood pressure will change remarkably. I am convinced that potassium, one of the main factors in normalizing blood pressure. It is necessary not to reduce sodium, but just add potassium and get enough sodium. After all, we need a lot of potassium for 0.700 milligrams per day. Very few people get that much potassium. Must be eaten at least 7 to 10 cups of vegetables like greens a day to at least come close to such an amount. But the bottom line is that it is more important to increase the amount of potassium than to reduce the amount of sodium. If you look at side effects of potassium deficiency, that is, hypokalemia, one of the important side effects is hypertension. Next, I want to say about vitamin D. Vitamin D is very important for eliminating problems with the autonomic nervous system. And in many people with hypertension, especially essential hypertension, the cause is unknown. Usually, there is a deficiency of either potassium or vitamin D. And just taking vitamin D may immediately solve the problem. One more thing. I forgot to say something important about sodium. Sodium deficiency not only strongly activates the sympathetic nervous system, but also weakens the parasympathetic nervous system, creates its insufficiency. That is why it is so important not to reduce the fight against hypertension only to reducing the level of sodium. And I didn't invent it. I take this data from a very curious source. At the bottom, I will leave a link to these scientific data. And the next piece of the puzzle is even more interesting. Is it possible that insulin is one of the main regulators of baroreceptors? After all, there are even certain methods of treatment in which insulin is injected to lower blood pressure. What? Is it happening here? I thought that insulin was very harmful, that it caused hypertension, metabolic syndrome and all. In principle, yes. But this is what happens when there is a surge in insulin. Insulin resistance occurs. Insulin resistance is, in fact, a lack of insulin. Insulin resistance blocks your ability to use insulin. After all, insulin resistance is at the heart of metabolic syndrome, and this is a combination of the following factors: hypertension, high blood glucose, fatty liver and abnormally high lipid levels such as LDL and so on. So, insulin resistance is closely correlated with hypertension, especially with essential hypertension, and below I will leave data confirming this. Remember, this reason is unknown. And if these data were generally known, it would be necessary to wean everyone from sugar, carbohydrates, and transfer to a low-carbohydrate diet. But they will not do this, because carbohydrates and sugar bring a lot of money, and refined sugar, all these empty. Carbohydrates deprive you of potassium. Based on this, eat more vegetables to increase potassium. Cut carbs, drink vitamin D, or get more sun exposure. This should help right away. But I have to show you a very simple method. It will help you lower your blood pressure right away. Just try it, it will work. You just need to change the way you breathe. It's that simple. This is called breathing at a given pace. It is necessary to slow down breathing to 6 breaths per minute. What's wrong? What is special about 6 breaths per minute? Well, it seems that breathing at this pace is synchronized with the baroreceptors in such a way that it reduces the pressure. And here is the data on this from research. This method of breathing significantly lowers blood pressure, especially in people with heart failure. It increases oxygen saturation, increases training tolerance, and increases endurance during training. 2. In addition, this is one of the best ways to reduce the activity of the sympathetic nervous system, its tone, the reaction of bela-bagi, its dominance. And a lot of people have all this. You just need to practice this method of breathing. It's cheap, it's fast. Everyone can do it. You may have noticed that people with hypertension, especially if they have diabetes or are overweight, do not take 6 breaths per minute. They breathe quite quickly, and don't necessarily breathe like that all the time. But periodically, when you are driving or when you are at home, just practice this kind of breathing. And this is how it should be done. To do this, it is not necessary to breathe through the belly. Here you need to breathe with your chest. Don't stress. Do not make much effort, otherwise the sympathetic system will be activated. Just breathe slowly through your nose. I'll demonstrate. Inhale slowly through your chest. 5 seconds, inhale slowly. Exhale for 5 seconds. This is how it should be done. This will be 6 full breathing cycles per minute. They synchronize with the baroreceptors. Will begin to affect the vegetative system and reduce blood pressure. Your heart rate will drop and you will feel calm. Sugar is not just a habit, it is a real addiction. You go, you feel the rise, then the fall, then the candy again. Cookies, cakes, buns. So in a circle. Why can't we just stop eating sugar? Products with sugar stimulates the hormone of pleasure, but the effect quickly wears off, and the brain requires a new dose. It's a vicious circle. Pleasure, decline, craving again. We break down, feel guilty, make new promises to ourselves, and everything repeats itself. This is not weakness, this is biochemistry. And to get out, you need a system. A sugar-free marathon is a step-by-step plan that helps to get rid of addiction. You get 3 tasks a week. They take 15 minutes a day. Everything is served. Simple, without unnecessary theory. You implement one change after another and see the result. You are not alone. In a live marathon, chat, thematic discussions, and experienced curators who respond every day. Support is one of the strongest points of the marathon. In 8 weeks, participants get rid of sugar addiction, lose weight, restore sleep, get rid of edema, and feel different, lighter, calmer, more confident. Sugar keeps you going. Stronger than it sounds, but you can get out of the circle with support, knowledge, and one step at a time. Join the marathon without sugar can be found at the link below. Start changing yourself from the inside.